Okay. I'm more willing, I guess, than you to go through 2 hours worth of footage. Hello and welcome back to my floor. So today we're gonna go through, and I'm very excited for this. I did a color analysis for my friend. This is the first time I've done it, and unfortunately it was all online, so it might not be wholly accurate, but it is what it is. We were battling a couple different issues. One, online. Not great. This is definitely something that should be done in person. Two, she had a sunburn in the photo we used, but it was like the best photo we could get because she needed it for a different project on her end. So yeah, it is what it is. But we got it done. So I don't know how I'm going to organize this video yet. I filmed part of when we were chatting and I'm filming this now. So we'll see. You might see editing me a bit in this video, which you haven't had to see yet. But yeah. So first, I'm just going to go through my own personal thoughts on color analysis. I think color analysis is a wonderful tool to help you in your journey with clothing. I don't think it is the only tool that is necessary to use. Obviously, before anything else, personal preference comes first. You should always buy clothes you enjoy wearing that make you feel happy, make you feel confident. I think personal color analysis is really helpful in finding that, because when you know what colors suit you, you know why perhaps one shade of green didn't make you as happy as a different shade of green. And sometimes it's because that green wasn't in your colors, and now you know that you were using a cool tone green when you should be using a warm tone green. However, it is vital that you use color analysis in configuration with other things like practicality, cost, cut of clothing, anything else that matters to you personally. It should never be your only tool. So going in with that mindset, we had a very good discussion as we were going through our color analysis. I invited her to basically push back if she thinks I wasn't correct, because again, I've never done this before. She's never had this done before. We're both new to it, right? So we went through, we both agreed she was pretty neutral with a warm undertone. So how it's gonna work, we're basically gonna go through and determine if you have cool or warm undertones, and then we keep doing the same process of comparing two colors until we find your season. It is very important to note that because this is online, it's very unlikely it is super accurate, but it is better accuracy than, say, the TikTok filters. It is most likely better accuracy than you trying to look at yourself, because as I learned today, it is very hard to determine your own color undertones, I think, because you look at your face all the time. So it is also important to note that, like, yes, you can find undertones through like looking at veins on your wrist and what color they appear. While that can help, sometimes it's not wholly accurate. Neither is any of the other testing. The most accurate thing to do would to actually go somewhere and get your undertones read through like a machine. And also fabric drapes in person, obviously, it's easier to tell. This is your fuchsia orange test. That would be more fun to have you do in person if you would have been able, but
I think fuchsia.
okay. Going back to this one, I think you're wrong.
You think?
The pink is making you visibly more red to me.
I think so, yeah.
So if you notice, the orange kind of smooths your skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at your jaw, it's much more noticeable, your jawline in the orange than in the pink immediately. Yeah. If I go back through them. So blank, pink, orange, both.
Yeah, I see.
So that's how I had to go through, because your sunburn is right up through most of your prominent features. But also you can tell in the pink, it honestly up in like this part of your forehead, or looking at the screen on the left side of your forehead, it looks whiter and higher contrast, whereas it looks smoother with the orange.
Yeah.
So actually what I think you are is I think you're a pretty neutral undertone,
Okay.
but you skew warm when you skew to an undertone. And if you see the photo we used, it might be hard to tell, but again, that's part of what we were fighting. The sunburn did make it harder to accurately judge her undertone in the moment. Um, but we went through, we agreed that she was probably leaning a little warm, but was neutral, and sometimes cools did look good too. Um, but we went all the way through. We went to the 2 warm seasons, so autumn and spring. She already just owns a lot of autumn colors. So she got a little swayed in her preference of how she looked under the autumn colors, and we discussed this as well. So now we get to play spring or autumn. We know you're warm, so we know you're spring or autumn. So these are the 6 palettes you can fall into. Do you have a favorite off the little
I would
looky loo?
say the dark. Oh, yeah, probably dark autumn is what I wear more, so that probably is what I like more. But
So the good thing about this is since they're both warm, in theory, you can wear both of them. But that does not necessarily mean you should.
Yeah.
If you want to strictly go on color theory. I think you're a spring.
Okay.
Because if we go back through these, your face is brighter under all the springs.
Yeah.
In like a way that's like it's lifting your face, whereas to me, under all of the autumns, your face doesn't quite look lifted. It looks a little flatter.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really good one to tell because I just immediately I see the tops of your cheeks. I see your forehead. And yes, it might make your skin look a little more red in some things, but that is more down to your rosiness than your undertones.
Yeah.
So it can be hard when you're sunburnt and rosy. But again, because you're already a warm or undertone and you're pretty neutral, you can kind of get away with everything. So, and again, this doesn't mean you need to go redo your entire wardrobe.
Yeah.
So, spring.
Yay!
But I personally thought she was a spring. I thought it highlighted, it evened her skin tone. It made her look less tired, which was a really good way to see it. Just physically see the changes in a face, especially when it's 2 photos next to each other with just different colors under them. It's really easy to look at one and be like, okay, which one does she look less tired in to me? That was like our big trick, that in jawline into neck, because she wasn't as noticeably sunburned there, was mostly across the cheeks and nose. So we went through that whole process. We got her into spring, and then we went through our 3 springs. I don't quite remember what order all my slides are in because I've gone through and changed the PowerPoint so many times. But I'll let you pick now out of the springs. What do you think?
Maybe light.
Okay. And again, she just got swayed by colors she personally likes, which is fine. It's going to happen. I tried to do it for myself and found it really hard because I was like, well, I don't like that palette, so I'm going to just make sure mentally I don't get fit into that palette or whatever. So I never came to any conclusions for myself, but that's not the point of this. We eventually put her into Bright Spring, but I just felt like every time we did the Bright Spring on the 3, your face always looked lighter and more present, and I didn't feel like it deepened any creases on your face or major. I feel like the other 2 major eyes feel a little more sunken and tired than I found the Bright did. But again, it could also have been getting bias pulled by your sunburn. Bright Spring is bookended by Bright Winter and True Spring, which she could technically kind of fall into on the 12 season color wheel, which is the one we used, because it's a far more expansive color wheel than using just the 4 main seasons. It's also a very common one to see people use, but again, I don't think it was our best work, and I think it would have been much better had we been able to use fabric swatches and done it live, but things are what they are. We can't always get what we want. But I had a really fun time putting it together, even if it was slightly stressful because I was getting concerned I wasn't doing it right. But we ended up having a really good time, and we effectively used that to help her clean out her closet, and she's going to use it as part of marketing for a business she works for, and do things with that there, where she goes through and picks out things from the store that are in supposedly her color palette. So yeah, that was my entire experience attempting to do a color analysis for somebody. I really enjoyed it, and I would love to do it in person for somebody sometime to see how good we are at it. But it's also the thing of like, I don't want to pay to buy all the fabric swatches to use them once, you know? So it's a bit of a thing. But yeah, that's all I can think of for now. You might see editing me, as I said earlier. We'll see if she shows up or not. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Okay, bye. Okay, so we have Whitney's.
Whitney. With an H.